And it's crazy. She put the baby on my chest with the blanket. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And his eyes were wide open. Very tiny. They had measured him. I think he was almost 7 inches and 3.5 ounces. And it was hard. Very hard. But I wanted to spend time with him, me and my husband. And as the nurse, or actually the doctor, had came in to try to deliver my placenta, and she believes not all of it came out. So she had ordered an ultrasound, and the lady said that the ultrasound looked pretty clear, but she had to send it off to get a radiologist to actually look at it. So that happened. They cleaned me up in the meantime, and it was just, me, my husband, and baby. The chaplain had came in and said a prayer with us, and what do? I'm grieving so hard at the time, and I felt for a lack of a better word, just dwindled down. Like I just wanted to get out of the hospital. I wanted everything put behind me at the time. It's like one of those things where you have at the moment nothing to be happy for but your life and your husband and your family, but you just experienced one of the biggest losses, but that loss is what's causing you the most trauma and anxiety right now, if that makes any sense. So the doctor comes back in a couple hours later after getting the ultrasound read and confirmed that there were still remain placenta in my uterus. And she advised me to get a D&C that night, but I denied it. And I regret that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. At the time, I just wanted to be with Justice. We have named him Justice Stefan Hannibal. He was born on December 27th at 9:27 p.m. I denied the D&C because I just wanted to be with him, and my anxiety was so high that I just wanted to go home. And I told her, since I have an appointment with my doctor in a few days, just let me see, how this goes. If there is still retained placenta, if it'll come out on its own, or whatever. And she's like, well, you can hemorrhage, you can get an infection, you can get sepsis, all the way down to death. And I was like, oh God, tell me this. Well, anyways, I signed off on it. I just told her, give me a few days. Well, I come home. I wasn't bleeding very bad when I come home. Actually, it was pretty normal after having, a birth. About 2 days after having Justice, I was using the bathroom, and I sat on the toilet, and I thought it was the toilet that was making like a dripping noise in the back. And I was like, well, maybe our toilet's broken or something, Well, I get up from the toilet after wiping, and it is full, TMI, full of blood. Clots, blood, and it's dripping down my legs everywhere. So here's me, I'm trying to put something in between my legs so I don't drip it all over my carpet, and I'm rushing to my dad's room. You know, I needed to go to the ER like right now. I'm hemorrhaging. I'm bleeding out. So he rushes me to the emergency room. Mind you, we don't live close. We live like 25 minutes away from a hospital. And that was the longest 25 minutes of my life ever. I get to the hospital and I'm bleeding everywhere. I'm wearing this big old long robe so people don't see it all over me. And I'm crying and I'm like, I'm bleeding profusely. Please, I need to see a doctor now. You gotta wait over there. Nah, 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 nah. I am bleeding profusely. I need to see a doctor now. Well, the lady finally gets up in one of those wheelchairs, puts a chuck in it so I can sit down in it, and wheels me to the back. And I mean, everything started happening so fast. Then they had seen that, you know, how my blood pressure was and stuff like that, and how much I was bleeding. Like, I was going through 2 and 3 chucks like every 3 minutes. I mean, it was just everywhere. And my anxiety was through the roof, and so was my blood pressure. So the doctor, he's like, keep an eye on her blood pressure and, you know, make sure she don't go into shock. And I'm like, oh my God, I mean, I suffer from anxiety. I do not need to hear this type of stuff. So then it's just raising a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. After all that I've already been through, you know. But they finally got me up to labor and delivery. After about 45 minutes, they had to insert 2 IVs, one for just in case I needed a blood transfusion, and, you know, another one just for fluids. I went up there and they prepped me for the DNC. So after all, I had to have the DNC, and I should have went with it the first time. Shame on me, and this would have never happened. So ladies, if you think that you have, or they know even that you have retained placenta, please have the DNC. It is very serious that you get all that garbage out of you, because this is what can happen. And I'm not the only one it's happened to. I knew several people and I still said no, but never again. I will get it done if it ever happens again. But the DNC went well. She said, you know, she got everything out. You know, I bled, this has been probably about 12 days ago now. You know, I bled pretty substantially, but that's because, you know, of all the foreign stuff that was left behind. And I bled for about 10 days. This is my 10th day after my DNC, and I'm still spotting. But my blood has had a chance to at least build a little bit more. I think when I left the hospital it was at 8, and they said for a transfusion between 6.5 and 7, so I barely passed that threshold. But I've been taking Spa Tone liquid iron, and it's very recommended. I've been taking it for about 5 days now, and I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm not as pale as I was, but everything's, you know, coming together a little bit more. I'm finally back on my anxiety medicine, so that helps a lot. But I just wanted to share this journey with ladies who have experienced loss, especially in the second trimester, how hard it can be, and it's devastating. It's so close, but yet so far away type of thing. You know, I was almost to my halfway point. You know, I was going out, starting to buy stuff for baby, and, you know, starting to get in that phase where I know everything is okay. And like I said, it's taken away. But like my mom says, you know, going through IVF and having an adopted embryo, she said, you know, you gave this baby life because this baby was in a straw, and he implanted in my womb, and he lived for 4.5 months, gained a soul to go to heaven. And that's the way that I look at it. I gave him life, even though, you know, he's not in my life. He has life in heaven. And that's what keeps me going and keeps me having peace, knowing that he's in a good place. And I don't know if me and my husband are going to try this again. Probably not, as we're getting old. But I would love to adopt one day, or try, you know, travel that road and see how it goes before we get too old. But yeah, I just wanted to share my story with everybody, and I hope that everybody enjoys it. And if you have any questions, comment down below, subscribe, and turn on your notification bells if you want to be if you want to see other videos that I post. Have a great day. Bye.